monthly meeting of the Harrisburg Zoning Hearing Board. Okay. To my right is Mr. James Hobbs, myself, Claude Phipps, and our solicitor, Mike Connors. Okay, and joining us from the city was, okay, Ms. Cameron, who's the city solicitor. Okay, this is the city solicitor. We'll make you a city solicitor. So, yeah, we'll get you from. Yeah, well, we get the check, and our director of planning, Mr. Jeffrey Knight. Okay, and to his left is, I could get your last name.
Stephanie.
Miss
Thompson.
Miss Stephanie Thompson. Okay, so with this, a little new preamble. Zoning Hearing Board. The cases are put in front of us. People who are bringing the cases will be able to speak. Anybody in the audience who wants to speak on any of the subjects has to be germane to the topic that's being raised, that property. Okay, and they have to be in somewhat close proximity to that property. Okay, again, we're a legal entity, so we have a stenographer that records everything for. If appeal has to happen, at least that will go up to the court system, either common pleas or Commonwealth Court. So, to that effect, I'm going to turn.
Okay. All right. Yes, Michael O'Connor, the solicitor, and as Mr. Phipps was explaining, that we do have a stenographer here who's taking all the testimony down. All the witnesses will be sworn in. The applicant, Mr. Knight, anybody else who will testify. So with that, I will call, though, the first application is 2628, 1854-1860 Walnut Street. And the applicant is Aria. Is it Aria Karmazin? Okay, Aria here. Okay. All right, we'll just push that to the back. We'll push that to the end to see if they do arrive. So the next, so many, Mr. Shokes. We'll get through. We'll get through those applications. Okay, so we'll start with 2634. The address is 1644 Market Street. And the applicant actually is Keystone Property Service. And with that, why don't we swear in the planning director, Mr. Knight, first?
I do.
Okay. And then we'll swear in the applicant.
I do.
Okay. And just state your name also for the record there.
My name is Robert A. Shokes, Jr.
Okay. And here on behalf of Keystone?
Yes, I'm the owner of Keystone Property Service, LLC.
Okay, great. So I'm going to read in the exhibits for, the board exhibits for this application, and then we'll turn it over to Mr. Knight for, background on the application, and then we'll go from there to the testimony of the applicant. So we'll start with B1 is the proof of publication in the Patriot News, April 5 and April 12, 2026. B2 is a letter sent from the planning director to the applicant notifying of the hearing. B3 is the hearing notice posting on the property. B4, notification letter sent to neighbors and certificate of mailing. B5, the application packet with photos of the property and floor plans. B6 is a power of attorney authorizing applicant as agent and attorney in fact of the property. B7 is the deed establishing the owner of the property. B8, the Planning Bureau case report. B9, City of Harrisburg Planning Commission resolution. And since this had to be continued from the last time, we have a couple other exhibits. B10 is then a proof of publication for tonight's meeting, May 3, 2026, and May 10, 2026, and a letter sent from the planning director notifying the applicant of tonight's hearing, because there was just an advertising issue last time. So with that, we'll turn it over to Mr. Knight for a description of the application, the property, that type of thing.
Yep, so good afternoon, zoning hearing board. So the application for 1644 Market Street, case number 2634, is very similar to 3 previous reviews that the board has had for Mr. Shokes' properties. Again, all after the fact applications. Those were 923 North 18th Street, 1923 State Street, and 514 Emerald Street. So the issues are very similar. In this case, the applicant has converted a single-family dwelling into a 3-unit multifamily dwelling, which requires zoning hearing board approval of special exceptions for the proposed use and relief from the off-street parking requirements per section 7-305.7 and 7-327.6 of the zoning code respectively, and variances for relief from the density and specific criteria regulations in section 7-307.3 and 7-309.2V of the zoning code respectively. In this case, again, the applicant had purchased the property, I believe, in 2016, I want to say, and in coordination with the Codes Bureau, they did submit building permit applications, did have those applications reviewed and approved by the Codes Bureau. However, they did not receive the necessary review by the Planning Bureau, and that is, of course, not, I would say, the applicant's responsibility. That did not happen internally between the Codes Bureau and the Planning Bureau. But it did come to our attention in review of a floodplain zoning certificate, which was recently filed for the property. And I believe the applicant kind of attested during the last meeting to how we came about bringing these before the zoning hearing board, where they had a variety of properties, and these 7, the 3 we previously heard and the 4 that will be heard tonight, were the ones where there was some discrepancy. And of course, that was kind of the purpose of the revised floodplain certification application and review process. In this case, the property was fairly deteriorated. In fact, the structure just to the east of the property at 1646 Market Street has been demolished. I believe that might have been demolished by the city. So there is kind of a gap between that building and 1648 Market Street. And so a lot of the same issues are inherent in this property, a lengthy history of condemnation, various citations for legal dumping, high grass and weeds, things of that nature. And the Planning Bureau kind of tried to look at this similarly as the past reviews, where we looked at it not kind of in its current configuration, but as we would have reviewed it had it come to us at that time. And so as opposed to the other reviews, we did actually have a recommendation for this property that one of the units on the 3rd floor be removed from the site. And this is due to our belief that there was probably less of a justification for that. It's a kind of 1-unit studio up there on the 3rd floor, so it can more easily be combined with the unit that's on the 2nd floor to create just a larger unit that can, accommodate a family. The other issue is the consideration of off-street parking. So at the rear of the lot, there is kind of a deteriorated garage. It's still intact, but it doesn't look operable. When we did site visits out to the property, there were just cars kind of parked in front of the garage door in the alley. And so the off-street parking requirements for a 3-unit building would be 4 spaces, whereas for a 2-unit building, they'd be 2. So the impact with respect to the off-street parking would be doubled between 2 and 3. And again, between that and the justifications inherent in the property, we felt that we felt that a conversion to 2 units would be more appropriate than 1 for 3. So with that being said, the Planning Commission recommended that the Zoning Hearing Board approve the request with the following conditions. The applicant should be limited to 2 units on site, in contrast to other similar applications filed by the applicant. Subject property was transferred between entities owned by or affiliated with the applicant and was not purchased from a different individual or entity as part of the tax judicial sale. Additionally, granting approval for 2 units would minimize deviation from the zoning code and reduce the impacts on the adjacent properties and surrounding neighborhood. If granted zoning approval to formalize the conversion to either 2 or 3 units, the applicant shall allow the Codes Bureau to perform a comprehensive inspection to identify any outstanding code violations and will receive approval for all necessary city permits prior to receiving a certificate of occupancy. And again, in coordination with the applicant, as discussed at the last month's meetings, the ongoing rental inspections they have had, we do feel that they have met their burden with respect to this condition. And then finally, the third is that the applicant must either repair or demolish the existing detached garage at the rear of the property to establish a formal legal off-street parking space for residents. And that's largely just to ensure that that rear space can be used to provide some accommodation of parking for tenants and their guests. Again, whether that's fixing it up and just using it as is or demolishing the whole thing and creating a parking pad. The Planning Commission recommends the Zoning Hearing Board to approve the request for the following reasons. While the circumstances surrounding the past conversion are unclear, the Planning Bureau can confirm a history of condemnations related to property maintenance and insufficient utilities on site, and notes the conditions of the abutting property required it to be demolished somewhat recently in post-August 2023. As such, there appears to be or have been some justification for conversion to multiple units, although the Bureau believes that only 2 units are justified. And also, the property is located in a mixed-use corridor featuring convenience stores, churches, and other converted properties, and thus a 2-unit conversion would not create adverse impacts on the surrounding neighborhood.
Okay. All right, Mr. Shokes, then you can testify in support of the application.
I have coordinated with Mr. Knight here over, I want to say, shortly after the last planning meeting. I agreed to his recommendations, and it makes sense. The garage needs to go. The garage is dilapidated. It got boarded up basically when it became used in the neighborhood as a dumping ground and not for parking for the folks that were living there, and so that became a problem, and so it just got closed up, and so it's been dilapidated over time. Needs to be demolished and removed and made into a parking pad. The space that's beneath it, it's a slab, it's a concrete slab inside the garage, so it will support the parking. So that's the simplest remedy there. As for the 3rd floor apartment, we had some discussion there, I believe, at the Planning Commission as to how to address the long-standing tenant there. We've already offered to and moved that tenant to another apartment that we have, and so that is now vacant. It's been closed up, power shut off. There's no longer water supply going to the 3rd floor. There are plans after this, assuming approval here at the board here this evening, to go ahead and incorporate that into the 2nd floor unit as Mr. Knight has described. It's easy enough to do. It's just another stairwell and a partition wall to make that transition easier. I don't think there's a lot else to say here other than to recognize that I believe in my last meeting, this property was an example I'd used as to how we had originally gotten to this point, in that this was a property that one of the codes inspectors had come to, and we'd gone down to the basement and seen whether it was a 3-gang gas meter installed. So this had been a 3-unit at some point in time, or at least there had been 3 gas meters at one point in time.
Right.
Don't know that I could say that it had been a 3-unit. Certainly it was not in the configuration that we had done.
Right.
So I think Mr. Knight is spot on here that we can easily incorporate the 3rd floor unit into the 2nd floor. That makes it a little more profitable, certainly still allows for rooms to rent and that kind of thing. So I don't see any issue with that moving forward.
And with the parking then, right, even with the garage being removed, the parking pad is still there, but is it just gonna, it'll be 1 space? I understand they're gonna require 2 with 2 units, right, 2 spaces.
It's a double-wide garage.
Okay, so it can
It's
accommodate both.
wide enough on the parking pad there to support 2 vehicles.
Okay, all right.
It's a tight fit, but it's just barely wide enough.
Okay, all right,
A Walmart parking lot fit.
right.
Yes.
Okay.
Great. Okay. Good evening, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, I tend to be Mosey Parker. I actually would pass your building and went in the back too, where the garage, where you're gonna put the pad out. And yes, that's gonna be a very interesting navigating cars down to get around that corner, or to move into that, but I think the recommendation from planning is that instead of 3, 2.
Mhm.
Okay. Move parking usage, just trying to go. I went looking for 1644, and I said, that's a lot. I said, you already took that down, so, but, you guys have any interest in basically maybe acquiring that and additional housing there, or?
Are we talking about the vacant lot?
Yes.
No, I don't think so.
Last, and I always ask the financial question a little bit, and this is gonna be apartments instead of a rooming.
Yes, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I mistakenly said the room, but it simply means instead of a 2-bedroom, it would be a 3-bedroom apartment.
Okay, yeah, I want clarification on that. And pricing, it's gonna be fair market value?
Fair market value, yes.
Okay. I actually had that discussion with somebody when you used the word fair market value.
It's tough.
Do you understand that in Harrisburg, with 6 different sections of Harrisburg, the income levels in those areas vary, okay, and it's not flat. I know your fair market value is the entire Harrisburg, but you take that into consideration because of the area where the property is going to be located and the people who are going to be moving into that, your customers.
Yes,
You take that into consideration.
absolutely. The market tells us exactly what it is, that fair market there, because once it's been on the market for 2 months at a certain price point, you have to bring the price point down, or you just have a vacant building. We've been in business long enough, after 12 years, to know what that is. And we've tried to stay just a hair below in hopes that maybe we get, I don't know, potentially longer-lasting tenants. I don't know that that's been the case, but we've had COVID in the middle of all that, so it's really hard to say. I thought we were doing quite well before. Since then, maybe not so much.
The time 19th Street going down to 13th Street, it was vibrant, and then over the years, it's deteriorated.
Yes.
So your customer base there is a little bit different than what it was when I grew up here, and when I went to school, I used to walk past the houses.
Couldn't agree more. One of the most compartmentalized cities I've been in.
Okay, so thank you. Bob, you're okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, based on the context of all of the applications, and the cases that we're hearing on his behalf, as long as there's agreement to the conditions, which it seems as there is, then I'm clear on everything.
And I spoke with our solicitor before, again, it had already been converted, and I lose the last of my hair. I've got up there. I know a lot of your applications are places that you're converting your multifamily dwellings, but it seems like they had been converted before, and now we're just cleaning up the paperwork, making sure it's legal.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
There should be consistency across the departments, I would
Yes.
think.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, are you ready for a motion? Okay, so is there a motion to approve application 2634, which is a special exception to establish a 2-unit multifamily dwelling? No relief for parking is necessary, and also approve the two-dimensional variances, one for the specific criteria for a multifamily dwelling conversion, and one for the density requirements, along with the conditions established by the Planning Commission.
Motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. So then with that, obviously, Mr. Shokes, then a decision will be sent to you, and we'll move on to the next one. And Mr. Knight, we can consider yourself sworn in for this one as well, and I believe it is the same applicant, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Shokes, then you can consider yourself sworn in as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so we have 2635, 1901 Forster Street, right?
Yep.
Okay. I'll read in the exhibits and then turn it over to Mr. Knight. So, we have proof of publication, April 5 and April 12, 2026. B2, letter sent from planning director to applicant notifying of the hearing. B3, hearing notice posted on the property. B4, notification letter sent to neighbors and certificate of mailing. B5, application packet with photos of the property and floor plans. B6, power of attorney authorizing applicant as agent and attorney in fact of the property. B7, deed establishing the owner of the property. B8, Planning Bureau case report. B9, City of Harrisburg Planning Commission resolution. B10, the proof of publication for tonight's meeting, May 3 and May 10, 2026. And a letter sent from the planning director to the applicant notifying of tonight's hearing. So we got B1 through B11. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Knight.
So, yes, this case is similar but slightly different than the last one. The application for 1901 Forester Street involves the conversion of an existing single-family dwelling into a two-unit multifamily dwelling, which requires zoning hearing board approval of special exceptions for the proposed use and relief from off-street parking requirements per section 7-305.7, 7-327.6 of the zoning code respectively, but only one variance for relief from the density regulations in section 7-307.3 of the zoning code, as the lot itself is large enough as the building itself is large enough to be converted to multiple units by right in conformance with the specific criteria. So this property, again, similar to the last one in that it has a detached garage in the back with at least space for one vehicle. And the building itself was converted at some point in the past, again, in coordination with the Codes Bureau and the lack of internal coordination between the Codes Bureau and the Planning Bureau is why this issue is now being addressed now and not back then when the conversion occurred. In contrast to the last case, though, this property is a corner lot, so it does have a significant amount of frontage along both Forester Street and 19th Street. So in the event that the detached garage at the rear of the property, which does seem operable, much more so than the last property, is only able to accommodate one car. The applicant does have the sufficient on-street frontage along the property to accommodate any additional demand from tenants or their guests. And therefore, the Planning Commission recommends the Zoning Hearing Board approve the request with the following conditions. Granted zoning approval to move forward with the project as proposed, the applicant shall allow the Codes Bureau to perform a comprehensive inspection to identify any outstanding code issues, and will receive approval for all necessary city permits prior to receiving a certificate of occupancy. The Planning Commission recommends the Zoning Hearing Board approve the request for the following reasons. In contrast to other such conversions, the structure itself is large enough for a by right conversion to 2 units, thus reducing the amount and intensity of zoning relief and providing some justification for the current request. And as a corner lot, the property has a one-car detached garage and enough frontage along both 19th Street and Forester Street to reasonably accommodate the 2 off-street parking spaces required for the use, thereby reducing the impact of the presumed increase in parking demand on the surrounding residents.
Okay, and Mr. Knight, you prepared the Planning Bureau case reports, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and do you adopt that as your testimony, that complete report, instead of stating everything and reading it into the record?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, then we can turn over to Mr. Shokes. Go ahead.
I'm in agreement. The battery power on the microphone is not in agreement.
Okay.
But I'll just speak louder. I'm in agreement with everything that Mr. Knight presented.
Okay. Are you good?
I'm
Everybody good?
Yes, this is, you answered the questions in 1644. It's the same thing. I did see there's no parking requirements. There's parking on both 19th Street and on Foster Street, so that satisfies any question I had.
Okay, and Mr. Shokes, right, this is like just a similar situation that you had with the prior application
Yes,
that we
sir.
had.
Yes,
You know,
sir.
with dilapidated property and all that kind of thing, right?
Correct.
That you significantly upgraded, right?
Correct. It was primarily distribution for illicit materials in the neighborhood for a long time, so we converted it from the storefront that it had to a stairwell entry. I don't know if you remember the door when you look up there in the front. You can see how it used to be a sandwich shop or a corner store. That's actually an entry stairwell up to the second floor apartment, so they have wide enough stairwell to be able to get furniture up and down. It's 4.5 feet wide there. That kind of put an end to it. So after we showed a little bit of love in the neighborhood, that activity stopped.
And it's been operating, as a two-unit multifamily dwelling last
Yes.
8 years, right? Yep.
Yes.
All right. Okay, with that, do I have a motion to approve application 2635, the special exceptions requested and the dimensional variance requested?
So move.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, let me go back. A motion to approve with the conditions. Weren't there conditions? Yes, there
Just the
were.
one condition, yeah.
Okay, well, let me go back. Is there a motion to approve application 2635, the special exceptions requested in the dimensional variance, subject to the conditions stated by the planning commission?
So move.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. See, we'll get a decision out to Mr. Shokes on that one. Now, let's see, we have 2636, and I'll ask Mr. Knight that, obviously, you'll consider yourself sworn in for this application as well, correct?
Correct.
All right, Mr. Shokes, you consider yourself sworn in for this application as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we got 2636, the address 2040 North 4th Street, same applicant, and I will read in the exhibits and then turn it over to Mr. Knight. Basically, they are the same exhibits, but we got to read them in. So B1, proof of publication, April 5 and April 12, 2026. B2, letter sent from planning director to the applicant notifying of the hearing. B3, hearing notice posted on the property. B4, notification letter sent to neighbors and certificate of mailing. B5, application packet with photos of the property and floor plans. B6, power of attorney authorizing applicant as agent and attorney in fact of the property. B7, deed establishing the owner of the property. B8, planning bureau case report. B9, city of Harrisburg planning commission resolution. B10, proof of publication for tonight's meeting in the Patriot News, May 3, 2026, and May 10, 2026, and the letter sent from the planning director to the applicant notifying of tonight's hearing. So we got B1 through B11, and with that, Mr. Knight, go ahead.
Yeah, so the applicant for case number 2636, similar to the last two proposals, and will be similar to the next, which is the adjacent property, requiring the special exceptions for the proposed use and the relief from the off-street parking requirements, and variances for the relief from the density and specific criteria regulations. And this is also an after-the-fact application. This property is similar history to the other two properties in that there was a lengthy record of condemnations, of utility shutoffs, of illegal dumping on the property, and prior to the purchase by the applicant. The applicant, in fact, you can see some of the exterior issues that the property had. I believe there's a big parged or vinyl siding on the side where some of the siding previously started to erode away. So the conditions of the property itself and the structure do provide justification for that conversion to multiple units. It's likely without, a allowance of multiple units on site, the properties would probably suffer the same fate as the adjacent properties, which are both vacant lots due to buildings on those lots being torn down. Due to the fact that the adjacent properties have been demolished, and the property across the street, which occupies about half the block, is a church with its own surface parking lot on site. There is sufficient on-street parking to accommodate the two off-street parking spaces required by the required for the two unit use, because the rear of the property, due to topographical issues, it's not easy to access that for off-street parking without significant removal of soil and, creating retaining walls and things of that nature. There is about probably a 3-foot difference between where the road is at in the back and the level of the backyard. With that being said, the Planning Commission is recommending the Zoning Hearing Board approve the request with the following conditions. And Same condition as last one. If granted zoning approval to move forward with the project as proposed, the applicant shall allow the Codes Bureau to perform a comprehensive inspection to identify any outstanding code violations and will receive approval for all necessary city permits prior to receiving an updated certificate of occupancy. The Planning Commission recommends that the zoning hearing board approve the request for the following reasons. Property had a history of condemnations for various building code deficiencies over the years prior to the applicant's ownership, potentially requiring more investment than would be viable for rehabilitation as a single-family dwelling. As such, there is justification for the allowance of an additional unit that would be permitted by right. The project reconstructed a blighting influence and attractive nuisance into units that will contribute to the housing inventory in the city and the neighborhood, and appears to have had a positive impact on the amount and frequency of illegal dumping on the adjacent vacant lots. And existing conditions of the property and its context within the neighborhood, specifically the availability of on-street parking along North 4th Street due to the abutting vacant lots and the vacant church across the street, mean the proposed increase in residential density would have a limited impact on the surrounding community.
Okay. And Mr. Knight, just like the last one, you prepared the Planning Bureau case report, correct?
Correct.
And you would adopt that also as additional testimony in this matter?
Correct.
All right. Okay, Mr. Shokes.
I am in agreement with everything that Mr. Knight just described. It's
Okay.
pretty straightforward.
Okay. And you prepared the application and the attachments?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and submitted that. You adopt that as your testimony as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions for this one? Okay. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve application 2636 and the special exceptions requested and the dimensional variances requested with the, subject to the conditions established by the Planning Commission?
Motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, take the decision out for that. And the last, for this one. Okay, 2637, 2042 North 4th Street. And again, Mr. Knight, consider yourself sworn in for this application as well, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Shokes, same, you consider yourself sworn in for this application as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll read in the exhibits. B1, proof of publication, April 1 and April 12, 2026. B2, letter sent from planning director to applicant notifying of the hearing. B3, hearing notice posted on the property. B4, notification letter sent to neighbors and certificate of mailing. B5, application packet, photos of property and floor plans. B6, power of attorney authorizing applicant as agent and attorney in fact of the property. B7, deed establishing the owner of the property. B8, Planning Bureau case report. B9, City of Harrisburg Planning Commission resolution. B10, proof of publication, May 3 and May 10, 2026 for tonight's meeting. And B11, letter sent from planning director to applicant notifying of tonight's hearing. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Knight.
Yes, so this final application in the group represented by Mr. Shokes for 2637 for 2042 North 4th Street requires two special exceptions for the proposed for the multifamily dwelling use and the relief from off-street parking, and two variances for relief from the density and specific criteria regulations, and is an after-the-fact application. While the properties are abutting and conjoined, there actually are some minor differences between the two, but regarding the size and some access points at the rear of the property. But the properties themselves and the structures themselves are similar in the history of condemnations and the utility shutoffs and a variety of violations issued by the Codes Bureau over the years prior to the applicant's ownership. The applicant, purchasing the property, did put a significant amount of investment in with coordination at the Codes Bureau, and did rehabilitate what was an attractive nuisance and a blighting influence on the block, and as previously noted, likely maybe saved the buildings themselves from having to be torn down. The context of the property along North Fourth Street with respect to the vacant lots and the vacant church across the street, create the same support for the relief from the off-street parking requirements, and the same topographical issues that exist at the rear of the property as they did at the property at 2042 North Fourth Street. And therefore, the Planning Bureau's or Planning Commission's recommendations are similar in that they are recommending the zoning hearing board approve the request with the following conditions. If granted zoning approval to move forward with the project as proposed, the applicant shall allow the codes bureau to perform a comprehensive inspection to identify any outstanding code violations, and will receive approval for all necessary city permits prior to receiving an updated certificate of occupancy. The Planning Commission recommends the zoning hearing board approve the request for the following reasons. The property had a history of condemnations for various building code deficiencies over the years prior to the applicant's ownership, potentially requiring more investment than would be viable for rehabilitation as a single-family dwelling. As such, their justification for the allowance of an additional unit then would be permitted by right. The project reconstructed a blighting influence and attractive nuisance into units that will contribute to the housing inventory in the city and the neighborhood, and appears to have had a positive impact on the amount and frequency of illegal dumping on the adjacent vacant lots. And finally, existing conditions of the property and its context within the neighborhood, specifically the availability of on-street parking along North 4th Street due to the abutting vacant lots and the vacant church across the street, mean the proposed increase in residential density should have a limited impact on the surrounding community.
And Mr. Knight, once again, you prepared the Planning Bureau case report, correct?
Correct.
And you adopt that as your testimony tonight?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Mr. Shokes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, anything to add from what Mr. Knight's testimony was?
Only to state that we're in agreement with the cases presented by Mr. Nutt.
Okay, and again, you prepared the application and the attachments, photos, floor plans, all that?
Yes, sir.
You at least attached it, reviewed it, all that type of thing, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. And you adopt that as your testimony here tonight?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions?
No. I have one, but when I looked at the property, it was too far for you, the two buildings there, that empty lot, okay, do you guys own that, or?
If you're referring to the empty lot to the left, if you're at there, we used to own that. We sold that to the gentleman who lives adjacent to that property, one further left. So he now takes care of that property. That's now his. In years past, I have taken care of the vacant lots that are to the right of that property and across the street from what is now the vacant church to help them out, kind of thing. Plus, there was a lot of illegal dumping and that kind of thing. And since there was no one there to actually take care of it, we're there. So we have been doing that. I can't say whether or not we've actually begun that process again this year, but I'm sure we will.
Okay, with that, do I have a motion to approve application 2637, which are requests for special exceptions and dimensional variances subject to the conditions stated by the Planning Commission?
Motion.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so a decision will be sent out to you, Mr. Shokes, with regard to that one. I think that concludes right to 4, right? Yep, all right, great.
If I may, I just wish to send out a quick thanks to the Planning Commission's office there for demonstrating a level of professionalism here that made a difficult situation into something that was quite manageable, I think, for everybody and sought a reasonable outcome.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Shokes. What's that? No, those are only 2. Yeah.
Right. Who's only that first? Okay, so now we have application 2638, the address 1257, 1259 Walnut Street, applicant South Central PA Restoration LLC, on behalf of, is it Arthur Jefferson? Okay. Okay. All right, Mr. Knight, you'll obviously consider yourself sworn in already for this application?
Correct.
Okay. And so let's identify for the applicant, we have Arthur Jefferson, and who else is with him?
Good evening. My name is Duran Sawyers.
And could you spell that for me?
Yes, it is Daran, last name Sawyers, Sawyers.
Okay. Okay. You swear them both in, yeah.
Yes.
And so, Mr. Jefferson, you're with the South Central PA Restorations?
Yes, we're both owners of South Central PA Restoration.
Okay, both owners, all right. Okay. Okay, Mr. Knight.
Yes.
You know, forgot to read them in.
Yeah.
Okay? All right, so the exhibits are B1, applicant's request for a continuance to tonight's hearing. B2 is a proof of publication, May 3 and May 10, 2026. B3 is the letter sent from planning director to the applicant notifying of the hearing. B4, hearing notice posted on the property. B5, notification letter sent to neighbors. B6, application packet with photos of property and plans for the proposal. B7, Harrisburg Redevelopment Authority resolution authorizing applicant to develop the property. B8, the Planning Bureau case report. B9, City of Harrisburg Planning Commission resolution. So we have B1 through B9. Now, Mr. Knight, go ahead.
So the application for case number 2638 involves the consolidation of the subject parcels and the construction of a 3-story, 6-unit multifamily dwelling with a rooftop patio common area. The project requires zoning hearing board approval of 2 special exceptions, one for the proposed multifamily dwelling use and relief from the off-street parking requirements for the proposed development per section 7-305.7 and 7-327.6 of the zoning code respectively, and 2 variances for relief from the density and allowable building width regulations in section 7-307.3 of the zoning code. The project will include 3 one-bedroom units and 3 two-bedroom units. So the project site is comprised of 2 vacant lots. They've been vacant for decades, I think, somewhere around 30 years almost. And they've remained that way all this time. There's at varying times, it's been used for illegal parking, for some dumping. There's been, unmaintained vegetation on site. So the Planning Bureau feels that the subject proposal represents a good infill development. The building itself will generally be in conformance with most of the development standards with respect to the building height, setback, and impervious surface coverage. As the application notes, the applicants are also proposing a somewhat unique co-op housing configuration and structure. And the intention is to make the units available to people, I believe, making up to 60% of the median family income. So we're not quite sure off the top of our head whether it's going to be submitted through the affordable housing certification program or not, and I think that's just due to whether the co-op ownership proposal that they're doing. But certainly, if they are going to be submitting through that, and that'll be worked out through the land development plan process that they'll be following subsequent to this review. It would reduce the amount of deviation from the zoning code. They'd only be required to provide 3 vehicles instead of 3 off-street parking spaces instead of 7 off-street parking spaces, and they would be able to build 4 units on site instead of the 2 units that they would be permitted for a market rate development. As noted in the site plans, the applicants will be, keeping the building separated from the adjacent structures. It's enclosed on all 3 sides, besides Walnut Street, by buildings and other improved properties. And they'll be having setbacks to allow those owners to be able to access those properties. That also impacts basically whether they can provide any parking on site. So They obviously can't access the rear of the lot. They'd have to go through the front, which would mean a new curb cut onto the property, which would both remove publicly accessible on-street parking, but given the required spaces and drive aisle widths, it's likely that they couldn't do any development on the first floor, so they'd have to elevate everything up a floor, which may necessitate additional zoning relief for things like exceeding the maximum building height. It may also make the project itself infeasible because I believe going above 3 floors requires an elevator, which is obviously a significant cost to a project of this type, especially one seeking to provide the deeply affordable units that the applicants are planning to do. So for those reasons, we do feel that the project as proposed is justified. It should also be noted that the applicants, I believe, have gone through the HARB review process because the property is in the Summit Terrace Architectural Conservation Overlay District area, and they did get approval from that board. So with that all being said, the Planning Commission recommends the Zoning Hearing Board approve the request with the following conditions. The applicant must submit a lot consolidation and land development plan application and receive approval from the Planning Commission and City Council. And the applicant must receive approval from the Harrisburg Architectural Review Board. The Planning Commission recommends the Zoning Hearing Board approve the request for the following reasons. The decades-long vacancy of the subject properties demonstrates the challenges inherent in identifying appropriate and feasible redevelopment projects, and thus supports the requested relief for development of a 6-unit multifamily dwelling. The configuration of the property with limited frontage along public rights-of-way and surrounded on 3 sides with developed lots presents challenges regarding access to the property and supports the requested relief from the off-street parking. The project will improve currently vacant and unmaintained lots with affordable units that are a pressing need in the city generally and the neighborhood specifically. The applicant has also responded to a solicitation from the city for redevelopment of the site as affordable housing, which necessitates additional relief from the zoning regulations. The proposed building design incorporates a number of novel features for projects in the city, including the incorporation of a rooftop deck, green roof, and solar panel array. The property will also be operated as a cooperative housing model that will retain affordability over time.
And Mr. Knight, once again, you prepared that Planning Bureau case report, correct?
That is correct.
And you adopt that as your testimony as well tonight?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Now for the applicant, whoever wants to start testimony in support of your application.
I myself don't have anything to testify. I'm open to any questions you guys may have, but I think Mr. Knight said everything that needed to be said.
Okay, all right. Mr. Sawyers, you too?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's been a long day, but what Mr. Knight said and just being in front of the HARB Review Board and the Planning Commission, we pretty much, everything is stated in there of what we plan to do, what we would like to do for our community. We don't want to do it one time. We want to continuously do this. And then even when we were walking through the neighborhood, just to see that that property, that lot right there has been vacant for over 30 years. It's much needed for all of us who are trying to develop, you know, to continuously try to grow our city and bring it back to, I know when I was raised, it seemed like it was more family oriented and less just vacant lots like this. So.
Okay. All right. Any questions from the board?
Sure. Good evening. Just a couple of questions. Number one, so there's here in the write-up, there is basically a statement saying that you have a comparison for by right development, basically comparing that to the proposed project. Can you talk about, I guess, perspective on financial hardship or inability to develop within the guidelines?
I don't know if I understood your question fully.
So basically, right, I guess in a sense there's for variance, right, there's kind of a burden of proof that you're not able to develop within the current zoning guidelines, which is what requires, or it brings forth your request for a zoning variance. So I'm just wondering if you could provide some insight into your inability to develop based off of the current guidelines.
Right, and why you pick the number of units, you know what I mean, 6 instead of something less, you know?
Well, we noticed that there's a need for the 6 units in the area. That's what made us pick 6, as well as the request for the zoning. I'm thinking that's what you're talking about, right? Like, why did we request these exceptions and variances, right? So, as Mr. Knight stated earlier, is that with the parking, we can't, we financially, we can't afford to build an extra story. Not only that, when we talked to the mayor, she said it ain't happening on top, so she already said that. But again, to have to put an elevator in there is a couple bucks to the hundreds of thousands, of which already we're going with affordable housing, and it's hard enough to raise the money that we have already raised. So that was one reason for that. And the parking with the street cuts, we didn't think that would even look right in the community. We felt as though if we cut, because I don't know if you guys have the pictures in front of you, but we have a permeable area right there where we want to do the whole street like that. We want people to walk around. We don't want you to have to weave through cars just to get to from one side of the house to the other side of the house, if that makes any sense to you.
And then also, you said why 6 and not 4? When we go through old parcels or whatnot, there's a lot of mess that we are charged for cleaning up from the city's situations prior to us, that it's so costly that 4 units, it wouldn't do us just for us to build there, you know. I don't think 6 would be enough, but that is probably the most that we could have asked for those 2 lots. You know, we couldn't go any higher or whatnot, based on the architectural review area of that area, Summit Terrace.
Go ahead, Mr. Knight.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I think the applicants also noted something relatively unique to these properties is that the PA1 call they performed didn't identify any of the subsurface utility lines, which is, even for vacant lots in the city that the city's taken down over the last couple decades, there's still usually a sewer hookup or a water line or something like that, and the PA1 call didn't even identify those. So it may be longer than 30 years that this has been vacant. Our records are very unclear about that, but that's going to require, excavation, running new underground utilities.
Right, and I just wanted to write that it has been vacant for a minimum of 30 years,
Yeah.
at least. Okay.
As far back as our records go, which are pretty consistent up until the late 1990s.
All right. Questions?
Yes, can you also provide insight on the, what was mentioned regarding the co-op?
So after, we have a compliance period where we have to rent it out for 15 years. And in our model, we want to build relationships with the community where we can practice generational wealth, meaning because each floor has 2 apartments. So if, in our idea of life, if one person could own one apartment, rent the other apartment out to whomever that other person may be, that will again create that a form of generational wealth to where we're getting supplemental income brought to each family on each floor, if that makes any sense to you.
But this doesn't occur until after that 15-year period?
And, yeah, our compliance period, yes.
Okay. All righty, I think that's all I have for now.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Mr. Hobbs, went through a couple of my questions, but, we danced around this funding source. So you're gonna build these as new structures. What's your funding source gonna be?
We have so far required a fair grant with the PHFA. We also have, and that was for $350,000, and we have we were awarded the Federal Home Loan Bank of Pittsburgh for $900,000. We have one last grant that we're seeking after, which is the home ARP funds for the remaining balance of our bill.
And Mr. Hobbs, he spoke a little bit, our questions a little about the co-op. And the co-op, your position on it is that you're trying to build generational wealth. Okay, so these apartments, again, after 15 years, they will be available to buy, or a floor. Okay, so you buy the floor, both who buys it, he's got income coming in to offset his cost.
Yes.
Okay. Let's say your land usage plan, how about stormwater? And the reason why I say that is because you are downhill from runoff a little bit from, yeah. How are you gonna address it? If you talk to Capital Region on that?
Yes, we we had a lot of conversation with Capital Region. So we're developing that stormwater plan. We're probably about 90% finished with the plan. We have to open up the street, and we're going to run our stormwater. You would think it would go down towards the Capitol, but that's not how they're saying. We have to actually go back up towards 13th Street.
Major collection point, yes.
Yes.
Okay. And this is gonna be a three-story structure?
Yes,
Okay.
with a rooftop.
This is gonna be more directed towards you. Across the street, you're gotta have development going on at, what is it, right there at 13th and Walnut? I actually went out and looked at your lots and stuff, so remember, they're gonna be rehabbing the old printing building there.
Correct.
It's right across, it's almost right across the street from their lots.
Yep, they
Okay,
were
so
heard
it's
at
gonna
the
have-
May 6th meeting, yep.
Okay, so you're gonna have construction in that area, multiple activities, okay? If you, and as the city, have you visualized the impact on the community of this construction?
Well, I think the logistics of how to stage all that is probably a bit up in the air. There is a vacant lot that occupies the majority of a block that's kind of like between those two, that's just storing parked cars at the moment. But I imagine it's pretty accessible to both project sites. And, in addition to the improvement to the streetscape, developing vacant lots, or adaptively reusing a vacant building, it seems ideal to have two such large projects occurring at the same time, because we'll likely need to repave the road, maybe like reset curbs, things of that nature. And if we can do that once while we've got two projects going on, that reduces the overall impacts from the construction timeline on the surrounding residents, because it's likely, we'll have to do road shutdowns for periods of time to, make these utility connections. So if we're able to do that kind of for both projects at the same time or back to back, that should reduce the downtime for residents to be able to use those streets.
Yeah, I was just thinking the timing issue, if they're gonna coincide, what's underground. What I have concerns is that if you're gonna build out one side, and they're coming on the other side, wouldn't it make sense to basically get them both done? And take care of that? I'm gonna ask you your pricing structure, but this is gonna be more co-op, but you're, again, use the term affordable housing, correct? So what's gonna be your pricing structure for these apartments that are coming in?
I think for the, if I'm correct, okay, I think for the one bedroom, it's around $900. And then for the 2 bedrooms, I want to say it's around like $1,050.
Sounds right there, because you're getting PHFA financing and federal and Harrisburg Bank.
Yes.
Let's see, co-op, 2 bedrooms, the parking, okay. I know we haven't hit on it a lot, but because they only require 7 spots off-street parking. How do you plan to accommodate that? Because and I've looked at both Walnut Street and 13th Street, and the parking there could be problematic, to say, when everybody's in. Okay, so how do you intend to address that?
Well, we're hoping for a waiver from you guys. That's what we're hoping for.
It's mulligan time.
Because
That's right.
because the community that we're looking to service, they typically don't have vehicles, and that's why we're requesting that.
Well, there's public transportation right there off of State Street, just one block over.
Yeah, and I believe there is at least one bus route that runs down 13th Street as well.
Yes. Yes, that's, okay, issue parking. Let's say your return on, when I ask a return on investment on this, but again, it seems like you're trying to build, your position is that you're trying to rebuild community, and you want to see that 15 to 30-year investment into this property.
At a minimum.
I'm not putting words in your mouth.
You are very correct, at a minimum.
All right, Mr. Hobbs, do you have anything else right now?
Just a kind of a general question.
Sure.
Back to what you mentioned with parking, because I know there's kind of, I think even in the last meeting, just general statement about a viewpoint of how many cars people in a certain population will own, which I don't know if we can really directly calculate that, right? But what is your thought or estimate then, if for this 6-unit building, of what would be the average need, I guess, in terms of parking spaces? Or I guess I should say, how many vehicles do you think would be owned by, the tenants that are occupying these 6 units at any given time?
Well, the way that we went about housing this 6-unit complex, we partner with a New Tomorrow, so a nonprofit company, nonprofit organization, I'm sorry, and what they do, they have a housing list that meets the conditions and the standards of affordable housing. Who in our community, we want to help those people, and they've written us. They have statistics, and they've written us a statement to include whenever we go out to anyone, to show that I think it's 98% of those who they house, they don't have a vehicle, and so that would be perfect for us, because if the majority of them don't have a vehicle, and what we're trying to apply for is an exemption from that, that would fit the community and where we're at, and it would also enable them to be right there on a bus line and in close proximity to what they need, even though they have transportation but not their own personal vehicle. So that is how we try to supplement not having parking.
And the plan is, right, to have this as affordable housing, right? That's what you would apply to the city. Is that how an application goes to the city to make sure that then they get a the certification, right?
With the affordable housing? Yeah. I think it does come through the city, yeah.
Right, for the certification to do it, but that is the plan. Right. And it's based on, though, right, kind of the pricing of the units, right? That's what.
That's correct. It's based on what level of affordability the units are. It's our threshold's 80. They're below that. And again, they're proposing the co-op, which I think is a little bit different than what we've had in the past. It's usually rental units or something like that. Sometimes for sale home. Row homes like on North 4th Street that was just completed, and Market Street that the board has reviewed recently. But this co-op is a different configuration as far as that's concerned. So I don't think we've had to review that against the specifics of the program language.
Right. But also based on really, I guess, the income level the tenants or, residents of that is really why then the required off-street parking is reduced. Right?
Yeah, and
Which goes along with the plan that then they're not gonna have as many cars, which I think is what Mr. Hobbs was kind of looking at, right?
Correct. And that's largely been a position of the Planning Bureau, is that, when when you need assistance to put a roof over your head, it's likely that, statistically, that you're less likely to have a vehicle, because that costs a significant amount of money as well, either to own, buy, run, maintain. So when we're talking about populations where we're going as deeply affordable as what the applicants are doing, it's definitely less likely that the average household there will have a car, or maybe they'll share a car with a friend of theirs or somebody that lives nearby, something like that. But the cost of a car is significant, and it's only going up. With respect, gas, with respect to even the used car market is increasing. So the cost of vehicles going up, and it definitely makes it less affordable for everybody, especially people who need help with subsidized housing.
And the other question I have, though, is focused on the one-dimensional variance related to the building width.
Yeah.
So what is the building width of buildings in that area, and then what's the 20%? Because I've kind of seen like 16 to 18 feet, or is
Yeah.
it the 32 to 36, that kind of thing, just so I know in writing.
Sure.
Whatever decision we need to write. Yeah.
That's always a tricky little section of the zoning code, and both because because really a block is not well defined, whether it's just the contiguous land surrounded by rights of way, or is it the properties on both sides of a single street, and how far does that go? The adjacent property, the mixed-use property just to the east, which is like a apartment over convenience store, is larger than the average in the neighborhood. As the applicants note in their application, it's anywhere from 14 to 18. And there are single-family homes just to the west along Walnut Street that are wider than that. There's the building at the corner of 13th and Walnut that, so it's tough to say whether there's a prevailing, but the block, directly across the block from this project site, you do have a pretty consistent row home design, or a row of homes that are all about the same width. And so, I think in the interest of completeness of this, so that there's not, a missing aspect of the project, we wanted to look at that and say, well, you could argue that there's a prevailing width because of what's across the block. So, but I think when you look at certainly the blocks surrounding the subject properties, I would say there isn't really a prevailing width within the general neighborhood.
Okay. So, but in writing this, let me just state how I kind of then looked at it and make sure. First of all, the building is going to be 38 feet width. The applicant, that proposed building, correct? 38. Okay. And the prevailing width may be 32 to 36 feet. Is that maybe a fair way to consider all the properties in order to be able to write this and have it decided, this dimensional variance request?
Yeah. So, I would say it's almost like there's two row homes side by
Right.
side. They have the two central stairwells that are required for access
Right.
to the upper floors. So it's not as though it's one building frontage for, a large apartment building. It's being treated as, two conjoined row homes that have a central access corridor.
Right. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
I have one more question. Since this is part of Summit Terrace, have you reached out to their neighborhood associations to basically let them know what your intents are?
Yes, I have tried reaching out to them to let them know what's going on. And I haven't got any responses.
Mrs. What's her name? Barbie D. Miss- yeah. I haven't spoke to her for a while. I've tried, left her a message. I talked with her for a while prior to this, but I haven't. She hasn't replied or anything like that. Ms. Loretta, I meant to say, yeah.
Any type of handouts or something you would basically hand to people, or some type of notification, let them know, hey, this, you know, we may want to do this or something, and your input?
Yeah, we sent the letters out, our certified letters out.
Thank you.
Okay. Want to take a break or anything, deliberate? Questions? Either way,
Let's take a quick break.
Is there anybody here from the public that wants to comment on this application? Seeing none, okay. Do we have a motion to approve application 2638 and the request for special exceptions and a dimensional variance subject to the conditions stated by the Planning Commission? Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's approved, and with that, I'll send out the written decision to the applicants within 45 days, okay? All right.
Congratulations, guys.
All right. Now, let's see. We got, right, 26. Okay, so we have application 2639, which is 1531 and 1533 North 6th Street. Okay. And with that, also, Mr. Knight, you'll consider yourself sworn in for this application as well, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And who is here for the applicant? I see the represented as well, but who's,
Kevin Kufa, Penn State Health. Last name is Kuffa.
okay.
Mark Kurowski, Kurowski, with K&W Civil Engineers for the project.
Esh McCombie with McNeese, Wallace, and Nurick, land use attorney. And then we also have in the audience with us David DeLuce with Penn State Health, general counsel.
Okay. Okay. Why don't we, though, swear in the witnesses for the applicant, the two, if they can just raise their right hand and then have you both sworn in. Okay, both answered in the affirmative. All right, so I'll read in the exhibits, then turn it over to Mr. Knight. We have B1, proof of publication, May 3, May 10, 2026. B2, letter sent from the planning director to applicant notifying of the hearing. B3, hearing notice posted on the property. B4, notification letter sent to neighbors and certificate of mailing. B5, application packet with attached narrative, photos of the property. B6, commercial lease establishing applicant standing to pursue the zoning relief. B7, Planning Bureau case report, and B8, City of Harrisburg Planning Commission resolution. So we have B1 through B8. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Knight.
Yes, so the issues inherent in the application for case number 2639 are are a special exception, and that is for allowing a fence taller than the 6-foot height permitted by right in the INS district. The applicants are proposing a 10-foot high fence to surround the play area. And then the variances are for the proposed use. So the play area represents an accessory use. It's accessory to the medical offices that are located at 1524 Wallace Street, just across the street. There will be the principal use of the subject property. So that's what the variance is for, allowing an accessory use as a principal use. And then also for encroachment into the side and rear yard setbacks. The applicants are proposing the construction of a basketball court at the rear of the property, the full width of the property is, I believe, 31 feet of the two properties. And I believe the depth is 70 feet. So the side yard setbacks for properties in the INS district are 20 feet. And the rear yard setback is 20 feet as well. So you actually couldn't build anything on the site, at least within the side yard setbacks, because they're combined 9 feet more than what the full width of the site is. And similarly, the rear yard setback is 20 feet. So basically, it would severely constrain any use of the property for any reason. And, you know, the properties themselves, I think, are a bit unique for the INS zoning district, which obviously imagines larger types of institutional uses like hospitals and schools and things of that nature, which, you know, you're not going to be building on a kind of narrow lot that of the type that accommodates like row homes throughout the city. And for that reason, development that is not in conformance with the zoning code and does require the requested zoning relief is sensible for the use. Additionally, the playground use represents a reasonable proposal for the site, given the proximity of the principal use to which it's attached, and again, the overall configuration of the site that pretty much precludes any other type of by right development on it. And then with respect to the special exception for the fence height, as the applicants noted in their testimony at the Planning Commission meeting, you know, one of the biggest concerns is for safety. This is largely going to be an outdoor therapeutic space for patients of the adjacent medical office, and because it's going to involve, you know, children, they want to make sure to ensure the security of the play area, but also because they'll have basketballs and I'm sure other equipment, they want to make sure those aren't like going out of the play area. So in addition to the 10-foot high fence, they'll have netting over the top to ensure the area is enclosed. So it's for both security and then also the safety of passersby, make sure something doesn't go into the street or damage a car in the adjacent parking lot or something like that. So overall, the Planning Bureau finds the request reasonable and you know, appropriate for reuse of these subject properties. As such, we are recommending approval without any additional conditions, and the Planning Commission also recommends that the Zoning Hearing Board approve the request for the following reasons. The existing configuration of the development site, particularly the narrow width and shallow depth, would require relief for any type of development on site, and the proposed development represents a sensible use of the lot, given the low intensity use and proximity to the principal use, which it will support. The lots have been vacant for approximately 30 years, and given the location between an accessory parking lot and long-standing restaurant establishment, the proposed development represents the most feasible and reasonable proposal to activate the lots and approve their contribution to the streetscape. And finally, the project will complement a medical outpatient clinic that provides services to adults and adolescents receiving treatment for emotional, psychological, and cognitive issues, which will provide an interactive outdoor setting that facilitates their physical and mental health.
Okay. And Mr. Knight, once again, you prepared the Planning Bureau case report, correct?
Correct.
And you adopt that as your testimony as well tonight, correct?
Correct.
All right. Mr. McCombie, go ahead.
Hey, good evening. Thank you for having us. We'll take a brief detour away from housing and talk playgrounds for a little bit here. As Jeff noted, the applicant operates an outpatient clinic on this land around North 6th Street in Wallace. And to support that clinic, we wish to establish an outdoor therapeutic playground. Unfortunately, there's no space at the North 6th Street facility. We had actually prepared an application for the facility itself months ago, but we're able to work through some zoning things with the planning department and didn't need to come before you for that. So I know the planning department's very, very familiar with this property. As Jeff pointed out, the lots are extremely narrow. I think it's funny sometimes when I talk to clients of mine about, you know, what are we talking about with a variance and a hardship, and what does that mean? One of the examples that I'll often give is when you want to build a home on a lot, but the lot's only 30 feet wide. What do you do if the requirement for that is larger? And that's exactly what we have here. We have two 15-foot wide lots. Even if you combine them, it's 30 feet. With a 20-foot setback, you can't fit anything in there. So to Jeff's point, we think this is a great potential reuse for the property. Kevin is here to answer any operational questions you might have, but I think what I'll probably do is skip ahead to Mark and let Mark walk you through the plan, and then if you have any follow-up questions, we'll be happy to answer them. Mark, you want to take a seat up here? Put the board up. I'll hand these out because I think they've got
Sure, it's Mark Karowski. Business address is 2201 North Front Street in Harrisburg.
Thank you. And how long have you been with K&W?
It's been 21 years.
What's your role there?
I'm the president and CEO of the company.
And have you ever testified before the zoning hearing board before?
I have.
And have you ever been denied as an expert?
No, I have not.
And did your firm prepare the exhibits that go with this application?
We did.
Great. I'd like to offer Mr. Karowski as an expert in site design and zoning.
Yep, recognize, go ahead.
Thank you. If you could flip to the first page, that's Exhibit A. What is it?
It's an aerial view of the property.
And could you use it to orient the board?
Sure. As you're looking at Exhibit A, you're going to see north is basically kind of pointing up on the drawing. You'll see the area in yellow, that's the office building that Ash had mentioned previously, and the area in red are the two lots that we're looking at for the playground.
And those are along 6th Street?
That's correct.
And then is the restaurant the building that's directly planned north of the red rectangle?
Correct. Anastasia's, I think it is.
Is the property in the INS district?
It is.
If you could flip to Exhibit B, please. What are Exhibit B?
A couple of street view images of the property in question.
And how many images are there?
I believe there are 3 of them.
And to your knowledge, do they generally and accurately reflect the status of the property?
They do.
And then lastly, we'll go to Exhibit C. What is that?
Exhibit C is the site plan for the project.
And on it is north to the, we'll call it 10 o'clock?
Correct.
That would be to the left.
Left on the plan, yes.
And does it depict the two lots being consolidated?
Yes. If you look at the, basically in the center of the plan, you'll see some dashed lines. Within those dashed lines, you'll see darker lines. Those are the two lots that are to be consolidated for the project.
And directly above those are the building, the office building we were talking about earlier?
That's correct.
And the dashed lines themselves, it says C enlargement plan A, what is that?
That's correct. If you look to the right of the sheet, there's actually an enlarged view that shows a bit more of what's actually looking to be developed within those two consolidated lots for the playground.
Could you just generally describe what's planned for the playground?
Sure. So a couple of things you'll see there. The consolidated lot itself is about 2,326 square feet. Within that proposed playground area, you've got about a third of it is looking to be asphalt paving. That's more on kind of the rear of the lot away from 6th Street. And then the other 2/3 would be a playground surfacing type material. The hard surface is going to be essentially like a half-court basketball area, 4 square kind of hard surface play. And then the looser playground type material is more, there's some play equipment likely to be in those areas, as well as some covered tables for kids to be sitting.
This board might not be aware of what 4 square is. Can you walk them through the rules?
I'm a little rusty, but I do watch it periodically, yes.
Fair enough. Is the playground lot consolidated about 2,326 square feet?
It is.
And what are some of the setback issues that we're dealing with?
So we looked at this and tried to find how do we site the playground equipment as best we can and provide some level of setback. If you look in the enlargement, you'll see a couple of elements. I'll start with the rear of the lot, which again is towards the clinic building, which is the rear, or again away from 6th Street. We're showing a 3.5-foot setback in that location, which would be to a basketball hoop and net. And then if you look on the side yards, I'll start on the south side, which would be to your right on the enlargement drawing. That is a 3.23-foot setback line. That is to, I believe, one of the covered tables we have in that location. And then if you flip to the other side, the north, which would be the side closer to Anastasia's, we've got a 4.23-foot setback. That's to what we're calling a shade sail or a canopy to provide some shade on the playground.
Great. And then I think lastly on the plan itself, is the access to the top right of that inset?
That is correct.
And so the idea is that patients would come out of the main doors from the office building, cross over Cowden Street, which is a one-way street, and then enter the playground in that area.
That is correct.
And for the board's knowledge, Cowden Street's kind of an interesting street. It is technically a public street. It almost is always operated as a private street. It's a small one-way alley. Mark, have you reviewed the application and the narrative included with it?
Yes,
And to the extent applicable, do you adopt the comments made therein as your own?
I do.
Thanks. Any questions for Mark or for Kevin?
Ash, Mark, you know, I always have to ask questions, but I don't this time. This is good. I'm very familiar with this area, extremely familiar with it.
We're going to hold you to that, Mr. Phipps.
Shot a little
He meant
basketball.
now. He meant as of right now.
Shot a lot of
Like an
basketball
attorney.
when I was young. Okay.
Thank you.
I do have one question, because I've got you, on the other side of Harris Street, you have the archives, okay, that building, and it goes all the way back to Wallace below that. I understand the need for the 10-foot high fence and with some netting over top of it, and that's more for a safety purpose for the people who are gonna be in that area, correct?
Yeah, it's to keep balls from coming out and, yeah.
Yes. Okay. That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just one question. So I'm assuming that is this just going to be accessible during the hours of operation of the clinic?
That's correct. The patients, the youth patients that are here come for the day. And so, yeah, this is during those regular hours of operation. It will be closed and locked up in off hours.
Thank you.
Yep.
One more question for you.
Yes, sir.
Lighting, since it's gonna be a play area, will you provide lighting into that, or because it's only gonna be active during business hours per se?
I believe there's,
There'll be site lighting that'll be there for the parking lot that'll also light that area if we need to. It is daytime only use, so it's from like 8:30 in the morning until like 1:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the netting over top of the area, okay, that lighting will be deflected per se, it won't shine through. per se.
right.
Okay.
Mr. Kufel, what is your position at Penn Health? Penn State, I meant.
I'm the facilities project manager.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Anybody here from the public or wants to comment on this application? Okay, and, all right, so, do we have a motion to approve application 2639, which are for special exceptions and, a special exception and, variance requests? Do we have a motion for that?
So moved.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, there we go. It's approved, and I will get that decision out to you, applicant. Yep.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, so we got 20. All right. All right.
This one may not be. Well, we'll show, we had the one on Walnut Street, but they didn't show up.
Yeah, we'll deal with that. All right. So we have application 2640 North 16th Street and Crabapple Street. Before I go through the exhibits, Mr. Knight, you consider yourself sworn in for this application as well tonight? Okay. I will read in the exhibits, then we can have the people for applicant introduce themselves and swear them in, and then we'll turn it back over to Mr. Knight to go through the property description and so on. So we have exhibits B1, proof of publication May 3 and May 10, 2026. B2, letter sent from the planning director to the applicant notifying of the hearing. B3, hearing notice posted on the property. B4, notification letter sent to neighbors and certificate of mailing. B5, application packet with attached narrative, photos of the property. B6, Harrisburg Redevelopment Authority resolution authorizing applicant to develop the property. There was several attached deeds and other agreements establishing applicant's standing to pursue the requested zoning relief. B7, the Planning Bureau case report, and B8, the City of Harrisburg Planning Commission resolution. So we have B1 through B8. And people for applicant can introduce themselves. We'll swear in the witnesses, and then we'll go to Mr. Knight.
Jared Miller, Wodo Cooper Companies.
Tarek Castile, TLC Work-Based Training.
Okay, Tarek, what was the last name?
Castile,
Castile?
yes.
Okay. Is that T-A-R-E-K? Is that it?
Tarik.
I-K, got it. Castile, C-A-S-T-I-L-L-E.
S-T-E-E.
Darn, I'm doing bad on this spelling test. All right, what was it? C-A-S?
S-T-E-E-L.
E-E-L. Oh, Castile, got it. Yeah. I used to be good at spelling, but then I became a lawyer, so, you know. All right, next.
Matt Witters with Eustis Engineering.
Okay.
And before you ask, Mike, there's one R in Jared.
Got it. Okay. All right, and then we have Mr. McCumbee here, representing, right?
That's
All right.
correct.
All right, so we'll turn it over to Mr. Knight, and then we'll move on to the applicants.
All right, so case number 2640 is a somewhat unique one, although it's very similar to the first phase that this project represents the second phase of. And the first phase of the project being the TLC Cornerstone, which is directly to the west of essentially where this project footprint is, and represented the construction of 50 units across several blocks of row homes and a multifamily dwelling building. Whereas this project is a bit more of a scattered sites development and largely involves only 2 units at a time, or I should say 2 duplexes connected on 9 different lots across the project site. There's a total of 34 affordable housing units in 17 buildings across those 9 consolidated lots. And the proposal involves the establishment of multifamily dwellings on the subject properties and a request for relief from the off-street parking requirements in Section 7-327.6 of the zoning code, and those are the special exception requests, and requires relief from various aspects of the development standards outlined in Chapter 7-307 of the zoning code. And those are specifically for relief from Section 7-307.3A of the zoning code to construct a building wider than 20% of the prevailing width on the block. That's applicable to lot number 5. Relief from Section 7-307.3A of the zoning code to permit full encroachment into the 5-foot front yard setback, also applicable to lot number 5. Relief from the same section of the zoning code to permit full encroachment into the 4-foot side yard setback, and that's applicable to lots number 6, 7, and 9. relief from section 7-327.9A4 of the zoning code to permit parking encroachment into the required rear yard setbacks along Crabapple Street, and that's applicable to lots number 4 and 9. And then, to the extent necessary, relief from section 7-307.13 of the zoning code to authorize the removal of trees with trunk diameters of 12 inches or more. And that's applicable to those properties, which again, front along Crabapple Street, which is lots 4, 6, and 9. The project is going to be submitted through the, yeah. Let's try that.
Just turn that one off.
That one, no. Okay.
Test, this.
Hello?
Jeff, this was working.
I'll just try to speak really loudly.
Trying to.
Hello?
There it is.
Okay, there we go.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. So the project will be submitted through the city's affordable housing certification program, which impacts two aspects of this project, both the density, which requires 750 square feet of lot area per dwelling unit, as opposed to the 1,500 square foot of lot area per dwelling unit in the RM district, and also the provision of off-street parking, as the project would require 0.5 spaces per dwelling unit. So for a total of 34 affordable housing units, they would be required to have 17 off-street parking spaces, and they are providing 10 off-street parking spaces across 3 of the lots. And so therefore, they're requesting a total relief of 7 off-street parking spaces. So with respect to the proposed development, the multifamily dwelling, as we've heard from both other applicants at tonight's meeting and other meetings, when you're going for affordable housing, you need to have a slightly denser development than would be permitted by right. The relief from off-street parking, again, we had just kind of had a conversation about that of people who are going after affordable units, generally statistically less likely to own vehicles. But the Planning Bureau would note that with respect to the project footprint, all of the sites that are proposed as part of this project are vacant, and several of them have a significant amount of frontage along various rights-of-way, whether that's Walnut Street, 16th Street, or Regina Street. Given that there's vacant lots fronting these, there is really no demand, or there were no vehicles really parked along the frontages of these properties on those streets. So there is sufficient on-street parking in the surrounding neighborhood to accommodate any demand from tenants or their guests. And while the project site sits in a bit of a maybe black hole with respect to transit, being that there's no routes that run directly adjacent to the project sites, there are routes kind of enclosing the project site on 13th Street, 17th Street, State Street, and Market Street, which kind of all enclose the property to the west, east, north, and south, respectively. So in addition to the availability of on-street parking, there are nearby mass transit routes for residents of the prospective dwelling units. With respect to some of the variance requests, the one for building lot number 5 for the building width larger than 20% of the prevailing width on the block, there really is not a, I would say, prevailing width because so many of the blocks, or so many of the lots that comprise the project site are vacant. A lot of the buildings that are there are one-offs or attached buildings, so they don't really establish a prevailing width. But it should be noted that for lot number 5, the building itself will probably, if looked at from Regina Street, will be similar to other buildings that line Regina Street, but these buildings are actually going to be facing North 15th Street. So while the building massing is very similar to other buildings, because of the way they'll be because of the way the entrances will be facing, it kind of establishes the side of the building almost as the front, which is why they're requesting that relief for wider than 20% of the prevailing width. As far as the encroachment into the front yard setbacks, again, that applies to Lot 5, and it's really, I would say, more the side, that would be more the side yard setback, because again, those units will be fronting North 15th Street instead of fronting Regina Street. So it will be built, but it will be built up to the property line, which is the configuration of the single-family row homes just to the east. So it is matching what's out there in the neighborhood right now. As far as encroachment into the 4-foot side yard setbacks for lots 6, 7, and 9, those are going to be kind of constrained by either vacant lots that are not part of this project or existing buildings. And so the applicant has designed the new developments so that they're further from the existing buildings to allow those owners of those properties to have access to their properties, which kind of pushes them into the side yard setbacks on the opposite sides of those development footprints. With respect to the parking encroachment into the rear yard setbacks along Crabapple Street, the Planning Bureau notes that is the most reasonable and rational location to provide parking for at least some of the units in this project, both because you wouldn't want to have front yard setbacks, you wouldn't want to have front yard parking, which would be out of character with the neighborhood, but also there are no sidewalks along Crabapple Street, so by locating the parking off of that street, they'll be able to avoid creating a new pedestrian vehicular conflict point there, because people aren't using the garage, the sidewalks already there. And then finally, with regards to the removal of trees, given the constrained nature of the sites and the fact that at least 2 of those along Crabapple Street will have parking in the rear yard, they're going to have to remove the trees in order to construct new units. They would probably have to do that anyway for site prep, but they'll probably need to use that for staging and parking vehicles. So it's likely that all of those trees will need to be removed, but we are trying to address that in the conditions by recommending that there'd be like a 1-for-1 replacement for new trees in tree pits along sidewalks for properties as part of this project. So with all of that being said, and I would note also that, again, this is the second phase of the Cornerstone project just to the east there, and it's made a remarkable improvement on the neighborhood. It replaced a lot of overgrown lots, some of which had illegal parking of junked vehicles, with a lot of new housing units with modern construction, affordable housing units for residents of the neighborhood, and has really reactivated those streets, North 15th Street, Regina Street, and really brought, I would say, a much better sense of ownership of those spaces. And you can tell that they're better maintained along those frontages than what they used to be. So with all of that being said, the Planning Commission has recommended the Zoning Hearing Board approve the requests with the following conditions. If granted approval for the requested zoning relief, the applicant will subsequently file a lot consolidation and land development plan and receive approval from the Planning Commission and City Council. Because the project will be restricted to residents earning 60% of the median family income and is therefore eligible for the Certificate of Qualification pursuant to Chapter 12-101 of Title 12, the applicant should submit the project through the Affordable Housing Certification Program prior to recording the lot consolidation and land development plan with the Dauphin County Recorder of Deeds. The applicant should reconstruct all sidewalks along North 16th Street, Regina Street, and North 15th Street to the full width between the curb and property lines, as the current configuration along those streets, and will provide safer and improved pedestrian infrastructure for new residents of the proposed development and existing residents of the neighborhood, as well as curb bump outs at corner lots along North 16th Street, Regina Street, and North 15th Street, similar to what was installed along the 15th Street frontage of the previous phase of the project. The applicant should also consider measures to prevent illegal parking, such as street trees. The number 4, the applicant should install fencing enclosing undeveloped areas around the proposed buildings to prevent unauthorized access and unpermitted activities such as illegal parking and dumping, to create more functional space for project residents, and to enhance the aesthetic impact of the project. The Bureau also recommends coordinating with the city arborist on plantings to improve the appearance and ecological function of the project sites. The Bureau recommends that for every tree removed, the applicants plant a new one in a tree pit located within the public right-of-way, as space on each development site will be limited. The Planning Commission recommends the Zoning Hearing Board approve the request for the following reasons. The proposed project will develop lots that are currently vacant, unkempt, and/or utilized for unpermitted uses such as illegal parking or dumping, and create affordable housing units for the city's residents in a variety of configurations, including multi-bedroom and ADA units. The subject properties comprising the project site lack adequate pedestrian infrastructure, and which creates unpleasant and safe conditions that have an adverse impact on the surrounding community, and the project will enhance the streetscape for existing and future residents by providing wide shaded sidewalks if the Planning Bureau's recommendations are adopted. The zoning relief requested by the applicants, such as relief to allow rear yard parking or to encroach into setbacks, which allows the construction of units up to lot lines, will better reflect the existing nature of the built environment and the surrounding blocks. Thus, these requests are necessary to develop a project that integrates into the building and infrastructure fabric of the community. And finally, as evidenced by the appearance and success of the first phase of the applicant's development along North 15th Street, the project will bring significant social, economic, and aesthetic benefits to the neighborhood, provide affordable housing and modern construction, improve the streetscape, and bring new residents who will activate the street on nights and weekends and will support local businesses.
Okay. Mr. Knight, you also prepared that Planning Bureau case report, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, do you adopt that as well as your testimony tonight?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Mr. McCombie.
Yep, thank you. Good evening again. I think what we'll probably do is still run through Jared's testimony. I think this is the first project WODA's had in the city, and so I'd like him to get to know you guys and you guys to get to know him a little bit because I'm sure they'd be excited to get back. Also want to thank Tarek for coming in. He's done a great job with Phase 1. If you haven't had a chance to swing by and take a look at it, it's a huge improvement, as Jeff said. So really excited to have this pair partnering together on this project. I'm going to hand out the packets. In the meantime, Jared, could you please state your name and business address for the record? Yeah.
Again, Jared Miller, Woda Cooper. Business address is 500 South Front Street, 10th floor in Columbus, Ohio, 43215. Say it again?
No.
No.
Wait, I don't know. Did he? Just do it again, please, just to make sure.
You guys swear for the testimony you're going to give to each of the
I do.
And Jared, who's your employer? Who do you work for?
Woda Cooper Companies. We are an affordable housing developer that's headquartered out of Columbus, Ohio.
Okay. Okay.
And I can go more into our background if you want.
Sorry,
to.
did I ask, what's your role with the company, or did he just ask you?
He did not. Vice
No.
President of Development is my role.
And what do you do in that role?
I look through sites in communities that are in need of affordable housing, and I primarily secure the financing through public sources such as the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency, and then take them all the way up to construction.
And where does WODA have other projects in Pennsylvania or the Northeast?
A little bit of everywhere. We've been in Pennsylvania for 2 decades now. We have projects kind of across the state. We have 2 new ones in Pittsburgh, but beyond that, we are, Beyond that, we're kind of scattered throughout the middle of the state, southern parts of the state. We have a few in Lancaster and then several in Cumberland as well.
And then WODA is partnering with TLC and Tarek on this project?
Correct.
Great. Who owns the properties?
Of the 26 properties, 1 is currently owned by TLC, 2 are privately owned, and then the remainder are owned by the Housing Redevelopment Authority, all of which are under agreement, though.
Great. And How far along is Phase 1?
Phase 1 is fully leased now. That is 100% occupied and doing well.
And generally speaking, is Phase 2 similar to Phase 1?
Very similar. Same financing, working with the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency. It'll be very similar.
Great. Are the proposed units affordable as defined by the city?
They are correct.
Great. If you could open up Exhibit A, the first exhibit in that packet, please. What is it?
Exhibit A is overall site plan. Mr. Knight did a good job of talking about Phase 1. That is what's highlighted in green here. As you can see, the remainder of the lots here, there will be 9 scattered kind of around Regina Street, which is the diagonal. There'll be 9 lots scattered around this general area.
And when we're looking at this plan, is north to the top left?
North would be to the top left, correct?
Is the property in the RM district?
Correct.
And are multifamily residential units permitted by special exception in the RM district?
Yes.
And I think I heard you say earlier, but I'll ask again just in case. Will tax credit financing be applied for this affordable project?
It will.
In your experience, do your tenants generally own less vehicles than market rate tenants?
They do.
Can you explain that a little, or what that evidence is?
Yeah, some of the same evidence that was used on earlier projects here. We've run this through our management team. They've approved the parking counts here. Typically, affordable units do have less means to have cars and rely on public transit or other means of travel. Generally, we do see a reduction in the communities that we own and manage compared to market rate properties, for example.
And since I know Mr. Phipps is going to ask the question, on the financing side of it, are the sizes of the buildings and the number of units tied to making the project feasible? In other words, do you have to hit a certain number of units to be able to make this project pencil out at all?
That would be correct. For this type of financing, the normal project size is around that 45 to 50 unit range. We try to get as close to that number as possible. It's defined relatively by the state based on the financing available. Here we're a little under, but for infill scattered site lots, which I think is probably something that's very much seen in the community, the 34 was probably as close as Torek and I could get to that approximate unit count.
Will WODA own and operate these units on a going forward basis?
They'll be jointly owned by ourselves and TLC Work-Based Training.
Great. Are you familiar with the narrative submitted with the application?
Yes.
And to the extent applicable, do you adopt the comments made therein as your own?
Yes.
Great. We can go for questions with Jared, or it might be better to go ahead and let Matt kind of walk you through the plan, and then we can hit all the questions at once at the end. Is that easy?
Yeah.
Because he might answer some. Great. Come on up, Matt. State your name and business address for the record.
It's Matt Witters with Eustis Engineering. It's 161 South 32nd Street, Camp Hill, PA.
And what's your role with Eustis?
I'm a senior project manager with Eustis. I've been there 19 years.
And have you worked on affordable housing projects before?
I have, yes.
And when doing so, do you review the city's ordinances and prepare your plans to comply with those ordinances, except to the extent relief is necessary as here?
That is correct, yes.
And have you ever been denied as an expert by a zoning board?
I haven't, no.
I'd like to offer Matt as an expert in site design and zoning analysis. Thank you.
Recognize.
Matt, if you could go to the next page, that's Exhibit A2. What is it?
It's a copy of the zoning plan that we prepared.
This was prepared by Eustis.
Correct.
Please use it to orient the board.
Yes, north is to the left on the plan. It's where Walnut Street resides. 16th Street is at the top of the plan. 15th Street, it runs left to right through the middle of the plan. Regina Street runs north and south, kind of diagonal. And then Market Street would be not on the plan, but it's to the right of the plan.
And could you walk the board through through the site plan and what we're proposing.
Sure. I'm going to start in the upper left-hand corner with Lot 1, and then we're going to finish in the lower right-hand corner with Lot 9. So Lot 1 consisted of 2 parcels. We're going to have those consolidated into one and construct 3 buildings there. Each will be a mix of 2 and 3 bedroom units. They're going to be 3 stories tall. Behind those buildings, we'll construct 4 parking spaces. 2 will be ADA. And there's a blue hatch in that area that's generally going to be an underground stormwater basin or stormwater management system. We have those throughout the site. Lot 2 is just to the right, faces 16th Street. That'll be 1 unit, or I'm sorry, 2 units, 1 building. That's a 2 and a 3 bedroom unit. No parking. The Lot 3 faces Regina Street at the corner of 16th and Regina. That's a mix of a 2 and a 3 bedroom unit, no parking. Lot 4 faces Regina Street, backs on Crabapple, and that has 2 buildings, both of which are a mix of 3 bedroom units. Lot 5 faces North 15th Street. It's at the intersection of Regina and 15th, and that'll be 2 buildings with a 3 bedroom or 3 bedrooms and 1 2 bedroom, no parking. I would like to point out on 15th Street that we do have a curb bump out or bump in there, similar to what was proposed on on Phase 1 to the west. Going east on 15th Street, we've got Lot 6, which is 2 buildings, 2 and 3 bedroom mix. Lot 7 is a 2 buildings. All 4 units will be 1 bedroom. Lot 8 is across the street on North 15th Street. That's 2 buildings. 1 building will be 2 1-bedroom units. The other building will be 2 3-bedroom units. And the last lot is Lot 9 down at the bottom of the plan, faces Regina Street. That's 2 buildings, 2 bedrooms, 3-bedroom mix as well, with off-street parking, 3 spaces on the back of Lot 9. If I go back to Lot 4, because I skipped over it, we have 3 off-street parking spaces proposed accessible from Crabapple.
Great, thank you. You touched on the sidewalk bump out. Can you talk a little bit more about sidewalks and widening?
Sure. It was mentioned in the conditions from the Planning Bureau in their recommendation that we provide bump outs, bump ins, whatever we're going to call them, along 15th Street, 16th Street, and a corner lot there on 15th and Ethel to match what we had done on Phase 1. We will provide that. We're not showing it on this plan, and we didn't incorporate it on this plan. Full-width sidewalks, we're going to propose along 16th Street. And then the rest of the sidewalks, I don't really have an issue with proposing full-width sidewalks along Regina or 15th, but we had set the widths and locations based on what had been constructed as part of Phase 1. We were trying to match the aesthetics of Phase 1. So on that condition, I'd like to work with Planning Bureau a little bit more to work through those full-width sidewalks.
And then talk a little bit about fencing, please.
Fencing, one of the conditions recommended by the Planning Bureau was to incorporate fencing around some of the yard areas. Certainly understand why, but there wasn't any fencing incorporated on Phase 1. We'd like to try to keep the aesthetics on Phase 1. The other thing with fencing is it is an added cost, and this is a affordable housing project, but it would also offer another feature for vandalism as well, and maintenance, long-term maintenance on the fencing.
And I'm sure you have it memorized, but I'll ask it in a yes/no question just for ease. Am I correct that there's 1 tree on Lot 4 that is hazardous due to age, 5 trees on Lot 6 that are generally undesirable, invasive, or hazardous due to their age, 1 tree on Lot 9 that is invasive or undesirable, and those are the trees generally that are being cut down for this project?
That is correct.
You mentioned some of the parking spaces. Am I correct that we're providing 11 where 17 is required?
Actually, we're providing 10.
10, thank you. And is there adequate public parking in the immediate vicinity?
Yes,
Public transportation nearby?
that's correct.
If you could just briefly kind of point out the variances. Jeff ran through them, but it helps, I think, to see them on the plan.
Sure. Beginning again on Lot 1, there are no variances for Lot 1. Lots 2 and 3, we're requesting variances for the parking requirement. We're required 1 per lot for both 2 and 3, and we're proposing no off-street parking. Lot 4, we are proposing 3 off-street parking spaces, but given the constraints, the dimensional constraints of the lots themselves, those parking spaces have to be within the rear yard setback along Crabapple Street. Lot 4, what else do I have there? 1 tree removal as well in Lot 4. Lot 5, we are required 2 parking spaces, and as you can see, there's not room on the site for those off-street parking spaces, so none proposed. As Mr. Knight indicated, we need relief from the side yard setback along Regina Street and the 20% width, prevailing width, which I have on the zoning data table as an average of about 22 feet, but that really is an average. In Lot 6, there are 2 parking spaces required and none proposed. We also have a side yard setback that'd be on the left-hand side or the west side of that lot, where we are encroaching into that 4-foot required setback. And there are 5 trees, as Mr. McComey mentioned. Lot 7, 2 parking spaces are required. There are 0 proposed. And again, the side yard setback is required to be 4 feet. We are encroaching into that on that left-hand side. Lot 8, there are 2 parking spaces required and 0 are proposed. And Lot 9, we have 3 proposed off-street parking spaces, but again, given the constraints and the desire to try to keep some lawn area behind the lot or behind the units, we are proposing those parking spaces within the rear yard setback. There's also a side yard encroachment on the south side at the bottom of the plan. That's a 4-foot requirement, and there is 1 tree located in the area of the parking spaces that is required to be removed to provide those parking spaces.
Nice job, thank you. If you could please turn to Exhibit A3. Is Exhibit A3 7 pages long?
I'm going to go with yes.
Thank you. What is Exhibit A3?
Those appear to be Google Earth photos, or I'm sorry, Street View photos from Google.
Would you disagree with me if I told you these were images taken from the narrative, probably about half of the images that were included in the narrative?
No.
Do they generally give an idea of what these existing lots look like?
Yes, they do. Most of them are open lawn areas with degraded curbs and sidewalks.
Vehicles parked in the grass?
There are a few with vehicles that are parked on them illegally.
And then lastly, if you could please turn to Exhibit A4. What is Exhibit A4?
That is a rendering done by the architect of what one of the units would look like. It's a 4-building unit with 8 units.
And this is generally consistent with what was done with Phase 1?
That's correct.
Great. Have you reviewed the application and the narrative included with it?
I have, yes.
And to the extent applicable, do you adopt the comments made therein as your own?
I do.
Great. So we're happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Either one of you can start.
Good evening. Thank you. I intended to start. I saw a lot of your, well, I'll get my first question. Have you gotten your, have you run this through CRW for the stormwater mitigation and you know, stormwater mitigation and water flow?
Yes, we have. We've submitted to CRW.
You said, we talked about, you talked something about fencing, but you're basically saying fencing, it doesn't really match the neighborhood that this is being put in, or it's not a clear match. And I always ask for architects when they build in these areas, you know, are you going to try to match the area that you're building in? Okay.
Correct.
Lighting. this is gonna be in conjunction with security, okay? This is a pretty good chunk of Allison Hill to the, I guess it's at the west of Market Street. The lighting is, are you gonna augment the lighting that when we start building these places, you put additional lighting up?
We will. We have a lighting plan that we're ready to submit with the land development application to the city for review. We'll have pole lights, God bless you, pole lights around the parking areas. And then we do have some wall packs up on the sides of some of the buildings where we have yard areas adjacent to those buildings.
And if you park, or have you taken this, and I wonder, has the HPD looked at this too, about that area? Again, maybe you putting some cameras and stuff in that area?
I think there is a plan to have cameras up. We have cameras up in phase one on the units.
Well, we already have cameras on phase one on every corner of each building, all four corners and on some of the poles.
Basically tied into HPD, or is Will Cooper, you're gonna basically provide your, since it's your buildings, are you gonna provide the security apparatus to review those?
On phase one, our security, our cameras go straight to the police department, plus we have them on our phones as well, as far as owners and the property managers.
Okay. Be able to go through, Dalton County Dispatch too, not my system. Okay. And, just to make it clear, I'm aware of Will Cooper. I've actually worked with them on other projects through Tri-County, so
Okay,
we've got a very
awesome.
good reputation in central Pennsylvania on different developments, especially in Carlisle, Trumbull County. So, thank you. And you've already talked about the affordability, yes, because you stole my thunder there. Okay. It's 60% of the, oh, God, I'm getting tied up. This is affordable, let's just say it that way. Okay, so 60% of affordable value. And I see it's gonna be a mixture of townhouses, duplexes, and you say triplexes. These are gonna be two-level buildings? Like multi,
Yes, there'll be a mix of two and three-story buildings.
okay. Let's see. I'm gonna ask this out of the city. I know we did a lot, a few years ago, we took a lot of solar cells out that were supposed to be put into storage or something. With these, used to be on 7th Street. Where D&H was, we took and reclaimed all those solar panels, all that equipment. We still have it? Would that be added to this, or?
I don't know if we still have those. I remember at the time, one of the things our sustainability coordinator had noted at the time is that they were toward the end of their useful life, and I think between the time that they've been taken down and now, they're probably not viable. And even if they still had some viability left, like it probably wouldn't benefit to use them as opposed to just going out and getting new solar panels that had a 30-year lifespan still to go. So I don't know that they're available. My guess is they wouldn't be a good candidate to use anyway.
Would this,
getting sold off for parts and other stuff, so they're.
Okay.
would this be part of some of the, from the developer, basically providing some type of solar assistance for power requirements?
Solar specifically is not a part of the plan, but I can say through the financing, we commit to a handful of things. One of those is green certifications. So all these buildings will be LEED Silver, in addition to having a reduced HERS index for energy efficiency.
Okay. Yeah, again, it goes back to the affordability issue. Okay, people, you're going to be basically moving into this. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think you covered most of the bases. Yeah, so.
They will ask financial questions. And again, most of the funding for this is going to be Pittsburgh, PHFA, and Pittsburgh Financial, that kind
FHLB? No, it would just be, the majority of financing is coming from the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency, not the Pittsburgh FHLB. But it's tax credit development.
So through PHFA.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Knight, do you have anything else to add? I just had one question though for you too, with regard to that condition, with regard to the fencing. Any comment with regard to that?
I thought that might come up. No, it was not a necessarily, it was a recommendation,
Right.
not like a requirement necessarily. And, we had talked about security and things like that. And, when we're looking at projects, especially new construction, we try and, if not overtly, try and implement like the CPTED principles, which is crime prevention through environmental design. And like one of the things they recommend doing is putting up fences because it helps establish like territoriality and access control to sites. But we can certainly appreciate the applicant's concerns about long-term maintenance and whatever. And as you saw in the pictures that they provided there, like you do see cars parked up on the grass, which you see in some of the project sites now. So we just want to make sure in some of these like interstitial spaces around the buildings that we're not leaving them open for similar activities. So if they're putting in, I don't know, boulders or arbor vitae or something like that, to just basically prevent that kind of stuff. And again, to create a yard really, instead of something that's just kind of open to the street, but like a yard, a space for the tenants to where they feel like, it's more private and, their own space. However that occurs, landscaping, fences, whatever, we'd be happy. And I think, the city arborist will be reviewing the land development plan that's submitted. And my guess is they'll have some recommendations. We may even have plantings we can, help provide the applicants in the interest of affordability. We're out there planting street trees, on a fairly regular basis. So we can help to coordinate those efforts that we're already doing as the city with what the applicants are proposing here.
And is that where, because that condition goes on, right, where it talks about the coordinating with the city arborist,
Yep.
but also about planting new trees where they may be removed or in tree pits. That's where also would come up in the land development phase, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think both with respect to the fencing, to kind of designating areas and the sidewalk, I think we're generally good with, continuing to have discussions with Jeff through land development. So if those conditions could be modified to work with planning as we go through land development, I think that'd be our preference.
Then let's do with regard to condition 3 for them to consider, because that's the other one with the sidewalk. The applicant should reconstruct all sidewalks to the full width, which is really the issue, right? The width, is that?
That's correct. We're trying to make it, we would prefer to make it consistent with Phase 1 and keep them aligned with Phase 1 for kind of consistency in that neighborhood. Certainly understand where Jeff is coming from, and so we can continue to have that conversation. I think, these two groups work well together.
At the end of the day, the city engineer is in charge of public rights of way. If the city engineer feels the proposed sidewalks are sufficient, that'll be up to them to make that comment in their review of the case, or if they agree with the planning bureau or somewhere in the middle. So I think that can definitely be coordinated in future discussions with the applicant and with the city engineer's office.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. You guys want to discuss, or anybody here else that wants to comment on this application? Okay. All right, and what I would say, right, is the approval then with condition 1 and 2, okay?
Great.
Fair to say, okay. All right, do I have a motion to approve application 2640 for the special exceptions and the dimensional variances with conditions 1 and 2 stated by the Planning Commission?
Motion.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Then it's approved, and I will get that decision out to you within 45 days.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Then let's just wait till they go, because I wanted to, though, discuss the first one, because, let me just, say, in going through that first one, that applicant, that owner, if you go through and you look through then the deeds, it seems like he then recently sold it again to somebody else. So, which I don't then know who that person is, meaning that who's on there isn't even then the owner of it on the application. So if we were going to consider it, I would then recommend, you know what, that applicant, that owner who's listed on it isn't even then the owner on it who signed the application, who would be then the authorizing that and the architect to pursue the zoning relief. That's not even the owner anymore, in that I have the, let's see, it is, okay, application 2628. That it was then the deed establishing this, the owner listed on the application, that was October 2025. Then since then, there was another deed established by the owner listed on the application, who then sold it to a Levi Fisher, who I don't know who it is or anything like that, that perhaps that, I don't know if that means anything of why that person isn't here today.
So I actually kind of just remembered after we had discussed it at the beginning of tonight's meeting. The applicants had last week said that the property owner wanted to come and attend the meeting, which they hadn't been. They had had representation of the project team. So he wanted to come and attend and wasn't able to do so at tonight's meeting. So they did want a continuance. And I think we'll be able to sort these.
As long as then they did contact you, you get it in writing, then with them, okay. Then
Yeah,
that-
I don't know
that is
whether.
fine, because it was, by the way, the recommendation from the Planning Bureau and the Planning Commission is approval, right, with
Correct.
condition, right, and all that
With
kind of
conditions,
stuff. So, if, you know, if that's the case, because obviously if somebody was here, they could explain, hey, listen, this is actually the person who was even the one that was going to construct or develop the property into the multifamily dwelling unit, all that type of thing. You know what I mean? Then that would explain it. So if you want to then consider their request for, you know, for a continuance, Mr. Knight will secure that also, though, in writing. But it does seem like at least the request came through to you, because the thing that I didn't want was just an architect being here and not anybody else, because that doesn't, yeah, that's a little risky then to sit there and do it. It's just somebody like that.
There were other representatives of the project at the planning commission meeting, but it was just the architect that was presenting.
Which is fine.
But and like I said, they informally asked for the continuance, but I can't recall what the email said, whether it was like a formal I do hereby request a continuance. But I will work with the applicants to make sure that language comes, that they can submit an email with that language, and I will forward that to the zoning hearing board once that's received. I would imagine I would get that by tomorrow or Wednesday at the latest.
Okay, but I think at least to be safe tonight, that we have, you know, or that you consider, the board consider a request for a continuance of application 2628.
So, question, so you said they sent a request in for continuance, and mentioned that the owner
To attend.
Wanted to
but
attend.
So you're talking about the new owner or the applicant?
Well, that's what I'm not sure of. So I don't know, maybe the new owner, maybe it's, you know, it was transferred within a company from like one arm to another. I'm not sure.
And that's what I don't know. You know, some of them, you know, list like it was a company in LLC that then this person is, you know, within it, and
Yeah.
it just happens to be like, hey, he's gonna hand, you know, if it was something like that.
Yeah.
That I couldn't tell, but what I was expecting was they were gonna be here, and I was gonna then be able to sit there, you know, and ask, and it may have been cleared up.
Right.
Sir, you know, fine. It'd be different if it was like, you know, recommended to us, and this is kind of, you know,
Yeah.
you know, kind of thing. But it is, you know,
Maybe the recommendation is that since there's some confusion here, that the owner have the attorney also with us here. That way, if there's anything legal or legality, you can help clear it up.
right, and you could even bring that up with them, to sit
Yeah,
there and
I was
say,
gonna
hey,
say-
listen, you know what, that I brought it up, that seems to be, you know, transferred to this, you know, one person, make sure that person
Right.
is the one who's there.
Yeah,
You know,
I'll make sure
something
I'll
like
make
that.
sure I convey to them that they need to reconcile the ownership issue to ensure that they have legal standing to be heard.
Because everything else
Yeah.
could be, you know, really could be fine, so.
Yeah.
But how about a motion then to grant the continuance of application 2628 to the, what is the June zoning hearing board
Yep.
meeting?
Motion.
Okay, do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Yep.
Motion to adjourn.
Huh?
Motion to
Yeah.
adjourn. Yeah.
Motion to adjourn. Yeah. Okay, adjourn the May 18th zoning board meeting.
Second.